Welcome back everyone to the Hello World guys. This is episode number 3 of the Flappy Bird series, and in this video what we are going to do is we are going to basically go ahead and basically make our game have obstacles as well. So I'm going to go under my blueprint folder and I'm going to create a new actor class, and that's going to be called, we are going to just call it obstacle, because this class is going to be represent our obstacle. So we'll just have a class for everything in our game. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to open up my obstacle class, and I'm also going to add an obstacle in the scene, and I'm going to set its location to 0 0 0, but move it on the Y to something like this. Move it a little bit to the right. I'm going to set the X to 0 and the Y to just 700, which I think is pretty nice. So now I'm going to go back into the obstacle class, and then I'm going to, in here I'm going to add in, basically what I want is I want 2 cubes on top of each other. So I'm going to add in a cube here, and I'm going to go ahead and you can see this is what it looks like in the scene, and I'm going to select the cube and I'm going to make its size 2. By the way, I've got it locked so it increases on all axes, so I'm going to change the size to 2. Alright, and you can see that this looks kind of alright, I think, and you can see if you play the game, this is where it's kind of located from the camera's perspective. So I think that's pretty cool. I'm going to actually go ahead and move it a little bit up. Firstly, I'm going to actually go ahead and turn on the snapping by selecting this icon here, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to change the, actually not right now, I'm going to change the snapping value to something like 50 or 100, maybe 50. Alright, so I'm going to increase it to something like 200. And what I'm going to do now is, you can see this is what it looks like. I'm going to go ahead and copy this cube and add in a new cube here, and this cube is going to, basically I'm going to set its location back to 0 first, and I'm going to you can see it's perfectly kind of has got an exact amount of space between. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to select this second cube, and I'm going to this is got at 200, so I'm going to make this at negative 200. And if I do that, let's see, okay, you can see that it's now kind of like they've got 2 pipes almost but it's not like exactly pipe. What I'm going to do is I'm going to go under the materials, and by the way, I'm going to actually change its size on the Z first. So I'm going to just go ahead and select my cube, and I'm going to unlock it so that I can just increase it on the Z, and I'm going to set it on that axis to around 4, so that it's kind of a little longer. And I'm going to change the location to something like 400, let's say. Yeah, that I think is appropriate. Maybe a 400 is a bit too much. No, that's I think alright. Yeah, that looks pretty awesome. Yeah, that's fine. Okay, so now what I'm going to do, I'm going to select the bottom one, and I'm going to change this to negative 400, and then I'm going to change its size to 2 as well. Alright, that looks pretty awesome. And currently these are looking pretty good, but in order to make them more visible, what I'm going to do is I'm going to go under the materials, and I'm going to actually select the material, and I'm going to hit clear so that it goes back to the grid material. I'm going to do the same for this, and oh, that actually kind of went away. It's not in the scene either. I think I made a mistake. Let me go back in the obstacle class. Okay, I just removed the static mesh instead of the actual material. I removed the static mesh, which is not what we wanted to do. I'm going to go ahead and select this, and I'm going to add in a cube for the mesh. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to, yeah, that looks pretty awesome. They have both got the same material. So I'm going to compile that, go under here, and I'm going to play the game, and you can see this is pretty fine. We have got to like an obstacle, but obviously the obstacle is currently not moving, which is not something we want. We want it to actually move. So how are we going to move our Flappy Bird towards the obstacle? Alright, so now we want this obstacle to move. So what we are going to do? Well, first of all, you can see that this obstacle is kind of having a couple of problems. It's kind of colliding with the, what we have got, the ground. So I'm going to go under the obstacle and change its size down to 1.9. which should solve this weird problem, and it shouldn't look very bad. I'm going to change the size to 1.9 on X and Y for both of the cubes, and now you can see that the problem, that glitching thing, has gone away now. So now what we are going to do is we are going to make this move. In this game it's common to make the obstacle move instead of the bird, so we are going to go under the obstacle, because if you move the bird it will take a little bit of more expense, and it's not so fine. So we are going to move the obstacle from left to right. So what we are going to do from actually right to left, I guess. Okay, so now we are going to go under event graph, and in here we are going to implement that thing. Now for doing that, you might be tempted to use the tick method here, the event tick, but you actually don't need to use that. You can just use a projectile movement component. So go under add component and search for projectile movement, and this component is basically used for moving projectiles, and we can use it for moving our this thing. And by the way, if I go in here, you can see that we have got this obstacle here, and you can see that the y-axis is pointing towards the right. Now we want this to move in the opposite direction. We want this to to move towards left, and in order to do that we are going to go under projectile movement, and since we want it to move in the opposite y direction, we are going to go under velocity, set the x to 0, just set it to 0, and set the y to 1. Actually, since we wanted to move it towards the opposite direction, we should set it to -1. Now go ahead and set the initial speed and max speed to whatever value you want. I'm going to set to 100, and make sure that both of these are set equally if you don't want any acceleration. And actually it's going down. I'm not sure why that's happening. Let's go ahead and try to set the velocity back to the normal by setting it x to 1 and y to this, and it's still going down. Now the reason that's happening is because this projectile movement component is applying gravity, so we need to go ahead and we are going to set that back to normal. I'm going to undo this, and you can go under the gravity scale and set that to 0. Now if you play, you should see that this is moving correctly. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to go under initial speed, and I'm going to change that to 200 and max as well. That looks a little faster, and well, we have got like a Flappy Bird. Now obviously there's only one obstacle. Obstacles are not spawning. In the next video we'll try to figure out obstacle spawning, and we'll try to make them spawn. So yeah, make sure to like and subscribe, and I will see you in the next video, and bye.